Break Shot, My First 21 Years by James Taylor. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, and who doesn't want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button. I got this book for a lot of reasons. None of which had to do with the fact, really, I hope, that James Taylor is a musician and I was an entirely self-produced rapper for 3 years. And singer. But most of them have to do with the actual audiobook and how it's been aggressively popping up on my Audible recommendations, like that neighbor who is not tall enough to see over your fence but won't stop jumping up and down just so that you can see his face and he can get your attention while you're, I don't know, planting some sort of strange fruit in your yard. But here is where it gets interesting. Audible loves their members. They really do. So recently they decided to grab a couple books that are super new and popular, and they decided to make them free for a limited time. Most of them were fiction, and most of those were from phenomenally established authors. But I saw this one, and this one was like, I mean, James Taylor, I've never heard of him writing a book before, at least that I found on Audible. This one I figured maybe there would be a degree of, here's how I advanced in my career, and you can do it too. There's nothing you can't learn about in yourself in memoirs, you know? So I downloaded this one, and when I looked at it, I saw that it was 90 minutes long. 93 to be exact. But you gotta be kidding, 93 minutes? I've checked out memoirs as short as 8 hours, and as long as, I think, 36. But 90 minutes? How could you possibly sum up so much of your life in 90 minutes? I don't know what it is, but something about a 90-minute memoir gave me a sort of bitter taste in my mouth of like, I've never seen this before, but it's been downloaded so many times. Is it actually good? More about that sort of bad taste a little bit later in the review. The author begins by introducing himself as a professional autobiographer. Need I remind you once more, the book was free. And it's said that in the book, he talks about the source of many of his songs, what happened to him before anyone really knew his name, and I think he kind of just left it at that. And don't worry, I'm not a spoiler guy. If I liked spoilers, I imagine myself probably enjoying the taste of spoiled milk and, I would say, honey, because that's the first thing that came to mind other than milk. But because of this, I went into it with like maybe a worried mindset of, this is free, it's incredibly popular, it's only 90 minutes long, and it's a memoir. Is it going to sound ingenuine, if that's a word? Is this about the audience or his pockets? Because if you look at it on Audible, there's so much like promotion between the actual picture of the book and the reviews. Those do talk about how great his music is. Maybe you'll like his music if you like the audiobook. In my experience, this bitter taste is not a good thing. But some things did stand out to me about the book. And I don't know about you, but this is just one thing of so many that I love to hear about in a memoir. Reflection. I have a running joke that I keep writing the same 6 or 7 songs over and over again. I think many of us keep trying to figure out exactly what happened in our early years. We want to go back and fix something that has already vanished and can never be corrected. But we can correct it in a book or a song or play. It's refreshing to hear about the impact that music has had on his life, his religious philosophy, human consciousness, drug addiction, psychiatric treatment, working with the Beatles and the shooting of John Lennon, and not working with the shooting of John but you know what I mean. I think that anyone who wants more insight, more perspective on these things could definitely find it in a book like this, especially if they're fans of James Taylor. You would think so, but I don't think that he talks about them at all extensively or maybe repeatedly enough for anyone to get through the book in one listen with much more of that than they had from the beginning. I don't really care if the book was free. I mean, I'm grateful that Audible is such an amazing company, but this is kind of just like an incomplete memoir. But why? Well, it took me like till the end of the book to notice that the book is about the first 21 years of his life. His first 21 years, but that makes me wonder. It's one question of why he would write a book about the first 21 years of his life. Nothing wrong with that, but why would he do it when he could just write about his entire life so far? Maybe he's planning on coming up with a series about it. And this is just part 1, but he didn't say. And that's also something that made me think like, what is the point of all this, really? It's not like he doesn't explain anything. I mean, in the beginning, he explained why he called it Break Shot, which I think was a really clever, unique, and interesting idea. But he won't bother explaining something like this. Is he just 21 years old? He doesn't look 21. Let me look. Is James Taylor 21 years old? He's 72. Damn, he's tall, 6'3". But here's my biggest qualm with the book. By the way, Normally, I don't tear books apart this much. I think I've done it with maybe 3 or 4 out of the 140 I think that I reviewed in the last 10 months or so. I'm not saying he's a bad musician. I mean, it's obvious that he's put years into his craft. He has such a unique voice, vibrato, the lyrics are very introspective, and it all has this sort of mellow, reflective vibe to it. I don't like that word vibe that much, but does he need to put seemingly random pieces of his music in between each chapter? Why doesn't he just spend that time talking more about his music instead? And if he does need to do it, why doesn't he say something before or after, like, this is a clip about my father's childhood that I wrote, or this is a clip about all the shows and concerts and stuff that I went to with my sister when I was younger. And he did this with the song River Roll, but that made me feel much more open to listening to the clip of the song. Why couldn't he do something like this every time, or at least most of the times that he had these little clips of his music playing? You would think a musician with so much experience would have something of much substance, a decent amount of substance to say in his memoir about the first 21 years of his life, about each of his songs, before just putting bits and pieces of them here and there across the audiobook, especially older songs that have so much history. At this point in the review, I usually talk about my thoughts on the top negative Audible reviews of a book, but that's because I usually enjoy books notably more than I did this one. Do I hate this book? No, I think there were some pretty cool parts about it, but that's why I'm gonna look at some more positive reviews. Sometimes I agree with what seems like an opposing viewpoint when beforehand I'm too maybe confident in my own to acknowledge and open up to it. More than one 5-star review said, you know, I can't stop listening. Audible, can you please have Mr. Taylor tell more of his story? My question is, why should they have to ask? I have never heard anything like this in memoir reviews. Maybe I need to check out more memoir reviews. Maybe I need to check out more memoirs. Another 5-star review, and this was pretty interesting to me, from an experienced psychiatrist, said that, you know, this was very inspirational because of his battle with substance abuse and depression. I agree with this, actually. I don't, but why did I not see it like that? I feel like that's something I would normally see. Maybe it's that bitter taste we talked about earlier, but he really did kind of just sound. He sounded aloof regarding this victory of the battle. Was he like half asleep? Was he like half asleep when he recorded this audiobook? I don't mean to sound like a jackass here. I've had depression. I'm 6 years clean of I think 7 years almost, of self-harming, but it almost sounded like in a lot of ways, just in his voice, he still hasn't won. There is no energy in his voice throughout the whole audiobook that I could find that really said, I did this and you can too. I don't know, man. It seems incomplete. I wish it were about his whole life, and I wish there were a lot more details. Your first 21 years of your life being 90 minutes long, that's actually not that bad, I don't think, but with all the unexplained song clips in between chapters, is the rest of his career just not worth talking about? I hope he puts out a lot more work, because as a professional autobiographer, he has quite some work to do, and that is not just my opinion, it's also the opinion of people who really liked this. I just don't get why he would sell himself as short as he did with this. Quotes, I think of myself as a jealous agnostic. I don't really believe, but I envy those who do. The success of an artist is not measured by how much he makes himself feel, but how much he makes other people feel. Direction 1. Based on top reviews, which really seemed to get a lot out of this book, I recommend this book for anyone who wants to know specifically more about James Taylor's early years. A lot of other things that I was maybe hoping to get out of the book, I guess I just couldn't really find them. Or at least as much of them as I wanted to. Because how much this or that had to do with what song, I really think that any James Taylor fan would seriously want to hear a lot more about that. Direction 2. If you like this book, I would say check out the next book about the next 21 years of his life, but that's not out, and I don't even know if it's gonna come out. Is this just gonna be like another Detox Half-Life 3 type of thing? Maybe I could drop the names of some of my favorite memoirs? The best one that I could name off the top of my head is definitely Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Break Shot, My First 21 Years by James Taylor. There's a link in the description if you guys wanna check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video, if you wanna check those out too. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also hit me up on Instagram, and also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because people watch all the way to this point in my reviews and they don't subscribe, and I'm not really sure why that is. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.